So this brings us to, you guys mentioned the song with Proof, and this brings us to Independence Day, which is the record that had Proof on it. And it's funny, I mentioned Death Row, and this had the Dog Pound on it. Before we talk about Proof, and also Tech Nine was back. Before we talk about Proof, which I want to talk about DJ Q.U.I.C.K.E.D.
Oh man, Q.U.I.C.K.E.D is the man.
That's another legend, another kind of underrated in some circles.
Legend, our circle,
right?
Not any of our circles, Brian.
Yeah. I wonder if it's because I'm a hardcore House of Pain stan. Like I know all the lyrics to the first two House of Pain records. Yeah. And there was that Everlast DJ Q.U.I.C.K.E.D beef that maybe I was maybe I'm a little biased. But yeah, but no, DJ Q.U.I.C.K.E.D is dope. How did he end up on the record?
We're humongous West, at that point especially, humongous West Coast rap fans. Like all that shit that they were coming out with, we were into it. We liked the East Coast too, but it was like, man, something about that West Coast bounce. And the Dog Pound was quite possibly my favorite group. I'll still put the Dog Food record up against any rap record. That motherfucker's ridiculous.
Yeah, those dudes
just
are great.
Fans.
Yeah, they had a swagger and like a smooth. It was like hard because it was gangster rap, but it was also smooth. There was some, everything associated with the whole, with Snoop and his crew and Corrupt and all those dudes.
I remember when we used to just like listen to DJ Q.U.I.C.K.E.D and High C and Twin Hype, and there was that whole little vibe of that crew. And I think it was like, we could do a song with DJ Q.U.I.C.K.E.D and it was like, no, seriously, stop playing. Are you serious? And we just all started cheesing like little kids, and we're like, yeah man, call him, see if he'll do it. And then I remember getting his verse, and we listened to it, and we were just like hype, man, because it was like, goddamn, it's him.
Here's the best fucking story of that record. Okay, I'm flipping through the Source magazine, right?
Yeah.
Flipping through, reading articles, and I see this big one-page thing. It says, Daz Dillinger, you want production, any of that? Hit me up. And I'm like, yeah, fucking right. So I hit him up. Sure as shit, it was him. We ended up talking. Cool ass dude. We got both of them on the record. It was fucking awesome.
That is some print magazine stuff that you can't get back. You know what I mean? Like,
dude,
that wouldn't have happened at any time. You wouldn't have been able to do that anytime before that moment or anytime after. You know what I mean? Like that's a moment in time.
Yeah.
When he's going to take out an ad in the Source.
Right.
It's insane.
And it worked.
Yeah, and it worked. And it worked.
It's just one of those meant to be things.
That's how these were favorites of ours. This weren't things that were like, all right, we get Q.U.I.C.K.E.D on the record. All Q.U.I.C.K.E fans are going to.
That's what I love about these games. I think that's why I was saying even a little underrated, only because it's clear when you look through your discography that the features you've had, the collaborations, that you are choosing people who are nice on the mic, who have personality, who you're obviously fans of, versus looking at, oh, here's the year the record came out, here's who all the hot rappers were that year.
Right.
That's how a lot of people look when you look back.
We take our world extremely serious, and it is extremely protected. And the people that we let inside, you have to be worthy of that, because we know what we have. We have forever. And before we share forever with anybody, we've got to make sure that you're worthy of shit like that. And not everybody's worthy of that. So that's why you don't see the hottest rapper, or, you know what I mean? Like,
and that's why it's timeless. That's why it still sounds good now in 2020, because it wasn't somebody who was flash in the pan.
For people in front of you that genuinely care, that wanted to be a part of what we were doing and what we were building. That's every feature on the record.
Yeah.
Any record.
Yeah.
We built immense relationships with some folks like that. Like, they just understand what we're trying to do, and we can respect that.
Yeah. And then let's talk about, obviously it was important, especially from a Midwest perspective, but, you know, having Bizarre and Proof on that record, what was kind of I'm sure you've talked about it a million times, but since we're doing the discography, what was crazy? The origin of, you know, connecting with Proof and all? I mean, because he was sort of known, right, as somebody in that area that everybody respected, everybody loved.
Right.
And that he was able to kind of navigate between different crews and whatnot.
I've been around with him since high school. I've watched him do all the freestyle raps where he'd be rapping about shit, pulling shit out of his pocket while he's rapping about it, and just amazing talent. Then they started the thing. Then the beef happened. And it got to a point where me and him were like, I think we can dead it. I think by going through the channels that we know, we can dead this. We can show everybody it's dead. And that's who we went through, we went through Proof. And he was like, hell yeah, let's sit down. Let's fucking get it. We ended up, everybody went out bowling and they came to studio and it was fucking awesome. And it was dead, just like that. Just like that. And that's all that was really. 100%. And I still talk to Bizarre's crazy ass.
And those are feuds that, you know, it's admirable on the one hand with fans, but also a little tragic because sometimes feuds will blow up where it's really just one person's problem with one other person or one or two, and then you get crews, labels,
it's like
friends, everybody trying to ride through each other.
Right.
Right.
We
You
really
come
didn't
from the city,
understand.
bro. Beef is serious.
Yeah.
Beef is serious. Don't matter big or small. That's just how it was. Beef was serious. Then it was like, come on, man. This is ridiculous.
Yeah.
Let's just squash it. It's that easy.
And that's what's great about doing it on a record, because like you said, the record really sends the message when people hear you on a song together, like, okay, it's got to be.
Sure.
Right.
You don't do that if you're not cool. If you can't be in the same room together, you're not going to make a track together. So.
Right. Everybody can say, oh, it's squashed, you know, but we wanted to just show everybody, good or bad, whatever the fuck you wanted to take from it.
That's what was cool about him too. At least one I thought was fun story is like I didn't know him up until the point that he came into the studio, and we don't regularly get to record with people in the studio. It's usually send the track, you know, via Pro Tools, stems or whatever. But he actually came to the studio, hung out with us, and like had this. It was a briefcase. It was an attaché case full of rhymes. I mean, I'm talking about notebook upon sketch pad, you know, cocktail napkins. He had raps on everything you could write raps on in this book, in this case. And then he's like, looks at play the track and starts listening to it, starts nodding his head and is like, you got some blank paper? And I'm like, what the fuck is going on? And he just like starts writing like from scratch. And it was just like, and it was like, I guess like an unspoken respect kind of thing that I thought was cool. And I don't really think that I've ever seen anything like that to this day through any artist. And that was cool. And that's something that I'll never forget about him.
Right. Artist wise, it was real cutthroat in Detroit. Nobody wanted to help anybody. Everybody was like, no, you want a song, $50,000. Like it was just insane.
For real.
And then it was like we tried to break that barrier down the best that we could. Little old us that the city ain't even paying attention to. Behind the scenes, we're trying to quell shit. We're trying to bridge gaps. You know what I mean? But we did that for us. We didn't do that for anybody else.
Yeah.
Right. Because we didn't necessarily agree with everything that was happening. So we tried to intervene when we were able to intervene. And then, you know, at some point as we get to the right, we start losing those abilities and those rights, I guess.
Yeah.
But yeah, man. And then we just start.
It's kind of like The Sopranos or, you know, organized crime families where it's like you've got your captains that are like, we're not trying to have this war you guys are trying to have. Let's make money together. Let's do business.
Yeah, kind of. And it's also just like it's even just from a personal experience of you don't really know these people, and maybe if you got to meet them, you know, maybe you wouldn't have those feelings or say those things. So it opens up a perspective, and you know, we're one of those people where we don't know everything. So maybe those people that we're referring to didn't know everything either. So we're like, you know, always down to help homies.
Right. Exactly. So this brings us into another important record, album 7, which is Wicked.
Yes.
Let's just talk about that sort of in general. What set the scene for what going into making Wicked was all about? You know, do you remember kind of what you wanted to? Because at this point, album 7, you've done so much up to this point. You know, you have an idea of kind of what the sound is, what people are responding to, what it needs to have to be a Twiztid record. But then at the same time, as you said earlier, you don't ever want to make the same record twice. So there's always new stuff you want to try.
For sure.
What was the mentality? What were the conversations between the two of you when it was like, all right, we're going to make this album?
We wanted to separate ourselves and show that we were the kings of the wicked shit. And that's what we did. That record dispelled any rumors. That's when we took the title, man. Wish I Could Kill Every Day. That record is as wicked as you can get. We stood on that just like that. Like, okay, your move. Anybody.
We talked about imagery and having the full package, so to speak, so that we sounded great, we looked great, and that not only did it look good, it would have like some sort of a uniformity from what you grab on the record shelf to when you see us perform, because we carried over everything. Like we just stepped off the album cover on stage. Like it was meticulously planned out, because we felt at that point, not that we knew everything, but we felt that we knew the rules to those games enough to where we're like, we're gonna maximize this. Like,
right,
like
we're learning how to market now.
What is sit there and what is every fuck up from every past album? Well, we came out looking cool, and then we went into this phase, or we were finding fame, or whatever, whatever the fucking lives, trials and tribulations may take you. But it's like, to have at that point, that's why W.I.C.K.E.D is that's another one of my milestone ones, because that was the first time we broke top 40 and like in Billboard, like since before, like that was the most actually I take that back. I think it might have been top 30.
And it was the #1 independent album. Period.
But the fact that it was on Billboard Top 100 and it was in the above 50s and it blew
then
our
it's
mind.
such a dark, murderous.
Right.
It's not like you were like, oh, we got this high chart position with our sellout.
For sure. and coming off of this entire, forever fuck the mainstream campaign and fuck MTV and any and everyone who was an outside outlet who may or may not have shown us to the world. And I think at that point, we weren't worried about anything like personal politics. We just wanted to literally kill everything. And I think the album is like therapeutic for us in a great way. And at the same time, it's highly regarded, because the kids are like, that shit right there. It's like, you guys became superheroes, or you became the full on Jamie Madrox and Monoxide. And it's crazy, because thinking that that's the full gusto and not knowing that as you go to the right, you get Abominationz, and it just keeps getting crazier. You know what I mean? Like,
it's about to get crazy.
For real. I think that's killer.
And before we jump off Wicked, this is probably a really good time to talk about Blaze a little bit, because he's all over that record.
For sure.
What was that relationship all about, and how did he become so instrumental in that record in particular?
Blaze Blaze was originally when we started. It was House of Crazies, and then after that, Paul said we started another group, and we actually started a group. It was Blaze was in the group, and it was Infamous Superstars Incorporated, and we had recorded 2-3 tracks, demos and whatnot, which is what we showed Violent J and whatever. And it was like, I love the sound. I'm not feeling this, dude. It should just be you guys, and you got to call yourself something different. And they started becoming the what would it be, and us being the people that we are, we're like, dude, do us this solid and be patient. I promise you, we won't leave you
You'll have
behind.
your moment. We're gonna bring you up with us.
Yeah. Right. Yeah. You know me, Paul, we would never do that. And it was like, and it's you want to talk about the ultimate trust fall, and like legit, dude, like we held him down and slowly waited for time to let it have its way, and he worked himself in and becomes one of the pillars, which will later be of Dark Lotus and a lot of what we come to do. So yeah, man, it was just like, and we knew we were going to be with him, and there was just certain tones and vocals and stuff, and we wanted to really push him through one more time, because we felt that a lot of people from the label at the time weren't getting good enough exposure. So we felt that we had a certain power, so to speak, or reach, however you would like to say it. So we were like, we're going to show our dude. If we're going to show anybody, we're going to show our family. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And clearly to this day, he rides with us. So, you know what I mean? It's we stay dedicated to our peeps,
Yeah. And that's a great sort of lesson, I think, too, because you guys were talking about going all the way back to that first record, getting $3 million of education out of $3,000. This is great for
Right.
people who follow you, who are fans of Twiztid, who have aspirations of doing their own things creatively about how to do right by your people and make moves that are both smart and to think about, because obviously even way back then you were thinking about the big picture 10 steps ahead, you know.
For sure.
Otherwise it would have, you know, it wouldn't have, it wasn't just a cutthroat like, oh, they don't want our third friend, so he's out of here. You were like, no, we got a plan. We'll figure out a way that this works for all of us.
Man, we came from a neighborhood of like 30 fucking rappers, dude. Like the amount of rappers. And when they asked us, hey, do you guys know any rappers? We're like, we know this, that. We tried to get Eminem a fucking deal. Like, we know rappers. But Blaze was the first one because we told him, we will be back. Believe me, we're coming to get you. He was first. Then it was ABK, and it just went on from there. Like, we started to really pen out this record label.
It's true.
And it caught. It was crazy.
And I think that's it. And with each like edition that we bought, because like we said before, that we felt proud that we were representing and helping build their brand. And that's during that mentality of, well, this is our brand. Hey, you guys, we got a place. We this is our home now. Come with us. Come with us. Open the door. You know, like let everybody in kind of vibe. And you know, and they just kind of followed suit and helped us, you know, represent everything and do the, you know, hold it down.
Now, Heartbroken and Homicidal gets crazy. There's more of the rock. There's some funk. There's and again, it's a dark record. I would say, would you? Is it fair to call it a concept album, or more of just there's kind of a theme? It feels like, you know, it's. You mentioned one of the other records being intimate. I feel like that record is a really introspective, like dark look and some dark emotions. If that
absolutely.
We wanted to show the difference in heartbreak, the many different ways people associate it with love. And it's like, it's not necessarily being in love with something to feel heartbreak and then to feel like you want to kill somebody about it.
Right.
Kind of straightforward, but
it was, we talked about making it more of a concept record at times, but then that's probably the first time where we start to learn how to let go a little bit. You know what I mean? And not be so predictable to, we have to do this. Like, we don't have to do shit. We've already done it. Why the fuck would we redo it again? Let's do something else. And I think we were just really wild with doing something else on that record. And when it came out, like, we were really proud of it, but I think it kind of just hit everybody like, what the hell is this? And it wasn't until like 2-3 years later, people were like, oh my God, this album's amazing. Like, where the hell were you 3 years ago when it came out? And it was just fell on the, you know, so it was one of those weird ones.
That's that Halloween 3 Season of the Witch phenomenon.
You got, I mean,
you first know, are like, I'm not sure what this is. And then years later, they're like, that's the best.
Really?
Or by the time you're on to the next thing, people are like, why don't you do something more like that? And it's like, you didn't like it when we did it the first time. Why you want us to do something 100%. Like that again?
Absolutely. No, without a doubt. And I think it's just
what's
like
the next one?
What, Abominationz?
Abominationz.
We should just go and talk about that one.
But let's get there. We're there.
Yeah, nice.
Yeah, but I love that. Just to wrap that up, though, I love that with certain things where when they're appreciated more after the fact, it kind of says something about the innovation.
Like, you know, and I think the idea of, and that's why I think we get to Abominationz, is because we stopped giving a fuck. We stopped giving a fuck and playing the games and making sure that the label's happy, or that this demographic is happy, or these people are happy. And we kind of just went back in and like channeled up our inner rappers and just kind of was like, we're just going to go back at it again. Then in some aspects, it has the hints of anger from W.I.C.K.E.D, but it's just so like leaps and bounds lyrically, even, you know. And I think that's where we really level up, so to speak. Like, we get the Mario coins, and it just it's
right.
We have entered the next stage.
Different at that point. Somehow, of all the records that we recorded, at that point, I heard music differently, and you will hear it if you listen to where it started and to where Abominationz You can hear something with me click, finally. And I heard it and I was impressed. Like, yes, you can practice at this shit and get better.
Right.
You can. If you really want to get better, you can, because I always felt inferior. Like, he was always the fucking lyricist like that. Like, I shined on stage, but it was like, record-wise, I never wanted to even listen to our music.
That's because he could take his shirt off. No.
Right.
He would always take his shirt off. I was so envious of him.
I don't know. I couldn't find that release. On stage, I could find that release and just be whatever the fuck I wanted. On that record, it finally fucking clicked. Like, me and the beat finally became one. And then it became a thing where it was like, I was proud, man. I was like, fuck, and that's all I do, man. That's all I do.
As you should be.
Fucking right.
It's interesting because it's like you said, with practice, you know, people don't tend to think about lyricism and phraseology and all the things that come along with rapping as similar to, like, say, you know, Eddie Van Halen on guitar or being the drummer or whatever, you know, where it's like, there's talent and there's ambition and passion, but there is also practice. And the more and then you find, that it pays off. Like, that's
it really did.
I don't think people associate that with rapping enough, but it is
fair
part
enough.
of it.
Right. I don't even know that rapping is that hard anymore. You know what I mean? Where it's gone. But
I think
that's why that record is so important to me. Like, fuck,
absolutely.
dude, I figured it out finally. And to watch people's faces when they heard it, like, that's you? Like, that's me, man. Like, I got
dope as hell. I'm telling you. I think maybe that's why I say those highlight records, from like Most Tasteless being the first, Freak Show being the establishment, you know, like Green Book, you're really pushing the boundaries. You got acetate taking your paint off. What kind of fuckery is this? What the hell, you know? And then again, like, I think the albums, like maybe for Mansmith and Mutant and for Heartbroken and Homicidal, maybe in those places, those may have been gigantic practice sessions that you got to hear of us seeking it out. It's not always just we want to be this and it happens. A lot of times with us, we grow into it or we find it in its own way. Everything happens for a reason. We believe that, and we're the spur of the moment guys. So to tell you, you know, we had it all planned out, it's not true. In some cases, like with Wicked, we legitimately did plan out things to make sure that we had obviously the same clothes on. So there was a thinking in that. But what I mean is that, like, we didn't go in and be like, you know,
this is the plan. Stick to the plan.
Right. And a lot of the times we just do that. We just experiment with music. So I think when you do hear something that you or other people would say, well, this was iconic to me, or this resonated with me more well, I think a lot of times that's just the product of him and I coming together, and we have a good ratio. We're like 82 out of 100 are like right on, and I think and that's a pretty good ratio. So I love it. You can't do enough music.
Yeah, and that's a refreshing thing about how things have changed. Is people want more, and when you're prolific like the two of you are, it works out, you know, versus
right on.
Artists that take 5 or 6 years to come up with a whole album. They're not faring as well.
Right. Me and Madrox can knock a fucking 12-song record out in 2 weeks. What takes a long time is the mastering and the edits, and then but writing and recording, we're like, give us the beat, chainsaw, we're on fire, man.
We used to love that
right now.
We used to love that. There was a program or something. It was the Rapper Show or something like that. And they would give people a topic and an allotted time. And they'd have to go in their own room and write their verse. It used to always be like, that's so crazy. That's just like doing Riders or Lotus. We'll sit in the studio. Someone will say the topic. Everyone goes into their own little corner and starts. You just hear pens writing and shit. And it's like, oh, I'm done. Someone will go in the studio and everyone will just put headphones on and keep on writing. And it's just like that, again, practice, on the job training. You know what I mean? Be about it.
Was that the show that MC Search was the host of?
I believe you're correct. Yeah,
I remember that. It was like a reality show.
They came up to the office at the time when they were filming that. They did some spots up there at when we were at Psychopathic at the time. And it was just like,
there were two.
The idea. Two, yeah.
Remember, there was Searches. The next white rapper, I think, was his.
I think that was
And then there
it.
was the one where they had
that's
to
right.
answer,
Yeah.
you know, hip hop questions and shit like that. Oh,
You're
you don't
right.
know who
You're right.
Cool Herc
You're
is?
right.
Get the fuck in the beat. Like,
You're right. You're
What are
right.
the four
How do you
elements
not
of
know who
hip-hop?
Diggable
I don't know.
Planets is?
Yeah.
no, but shouts out to Third Base, bro.
Yeah.
Like, we came
Yeah.
up on them dudes 100%.
Absolutely.
I love that. That was some high school, and that was, yeah. I mean, you know, as a white kid in indie, getting into hip hop and having Third Base and House of Pain and some of those groups to be like, okay, it
Don't you forget
be
Into
invited, you know.
Yes, and Too Deep, and the Beasties.
And
Yes,
the Beasties, of course.
of course.
Well, and coming
Yes,
from
hell
punk
yeah.
rock too, the Beasties were the nice crossover.
I think the Beasties transcend color. Like, if you look at them under the sun, they're just many colors.
They're like the
We're out of
Technicolor
this
Dreamcoat.
world, bro. Out of this world.
I love it.
Yeah.
I love
And you know, Search, and because Search was down with BDP, and you know, he was right there in the hospital. You know,
Yeah.
Search is fit, man.
but Search was dope. But also, you can't forget Prime Minister Pete Nice. Yeah,
Always.
he had his vibe.
There's still. There's never been a cooler motherfucker on the mic. He was so cool. He didn't even breathe in the videos. Like, I'm too cool to breathe. I'm coming at you, bro.
Yeah, no.
And everything. Yeah.
Search is in the back, Cabbage Patch looking a fool, and Pete Nice is in a $10,000 silk suit with a diamond etched cane.
They
just
reminded
down,
me of
rapping
us.
at you.
Like, they were the closest thing that I could pick to us. Because Jamie and Search, fucking, you could tell they were born to rap. Me and Pete Nice, we needed to practice because some shit we said, people were like, okay, it rhymed.
You're tripping, but I love it. That's awesome.
Yeah.
No, I love
That's
that.
what it was. They just reminded me so much of all that. And it was like that with a lot of the duos.
Yeah.
For
And
sure. No, absolutely.
It's funny too, because you guys talked about Henry Rollins earlier. You know, that's Henry Rollins dressed up like Vanilla Ice in the video for Gasface.
Absolutely.
Yeah, right.
Absolutely.
Cameo.
And it was fun. It was fun to see that in a sense they were clowning on mainstream stuff at the time, and it was just like it kind of made it tongue in cheek, and it was okay to not like that stuff because everybody was like, you have to like this. This is the greatest.
Ambitious and aspirational, and to want success, but to want it on your own terms, and to want artistic credibility at the same time, and
there's something about that we can respect.
Yeah,
that right there has always been the biggest thing with me and Jamie is our integrity, our ability to stick to our guns, regardless of the mountain or challenge in front of us. We stick to what we believe is right.
It's true,
and we've always been like that.
And when the crowd comes to you on your own terms, that's different than artists that make the step towards the crowd to try to get
right.
But and I don't want to be hypocritical here, but I'm also down to be those guys to step towards the crowd at times too, because I know that we have, for us specifically, we have took such a long time building and putting up this wall between us and everyone who's not inside of the Juggalo culture. So like, it's in some senses, it's like what you said before when we tried to do the family thing, and that was, you felt welcome. That is our end game, because we know that life is short and we don't want to, you know, like not be hurt by everybody.
Don't you look me in the eyes. Never look me in the eyes.
We don't want to, it's like, we don't want to, you know, like so many people say, you saved my life, or this song meant everything, or this album got me through my whatever, fill in the blank. It was something for somebody. And if you really believe that, why wouldn't you want more people to hear it?
Oh, for sure. I'm just saying you don't compromise who you are or what you're about just to get to those extra people. You'll do things to make it more welcoming, but without compromising the purity of
for sure. Well, yeah, because in certain circles, us, you know, going and being on part of a festival or something like that would be considered, you know, not being underground. And I'm just like, man, I don't agree, because like when
you're
you
still
really
playing your underground songs on that mainstream festival.
That's what I said.
Thank you.
Exactly, bro. That was the deciding point in us doing the Warped Tour. It's like, How the fuck can we be selling out if we're up there saying die motherfucker die and we don't die and fuck the world and just shit like that? Like, come
And
on,
that
now. We
was-
go out there singing with some acoustic bullshit. Yeah,
No,
Boo
Right,
us
and
up,
that
baby.
was that was a real true eye-opener for Paul and I and George and everybody on our team, was to see how many people were like reluctant to approach us and just be like, you know, like, hey man, or like, you know, once it was like, oh, they're cool dudes, they're nice, you know, like I thought they were going to be dicks and flipping tables and on some, you know, fuck everybody, I'm a juggalo shit. And it's like,
We
your
spoke about this
perception.
before.
Yeah,
Yeah,
and that's
Yeah.
interesting with with any kind of subculture, right? Because somebody from a different scene going on tour with like a black metal group, right? Like, you know,
Right.
Behemoth or
For sure.
something, and you would think like, oh, these guys are going to be killing cats and setting fires,
Right, right.
having seances or whatever, and then you meet them and it's just like, oh, just dudes, just like us.
Yeah,
You
yeah.
know?
So they don't
Absolutely.
hang
And
out?
just, I think, but
They
we
don't do
came with
coke?
that built-in stigma. Like, we came with luggage, and I think that people's perception of us, and once they found out, it was all good. It was love, and that was again more on the job training, more knowledge that like literally just came flooding in, like the gates have been open, and it was like, wait a minute, people don't understand us, Paul. They have a perception of us.
Right.
We need to maybe drop our guard down a bit and still keep the piss and vinegar. Don't change, but be more open to other people, because when we do show other people our music, we get a good response.
Right.
And I think that,
and that's the thing, and people can respect that you are who you are. And so even when you're in a new environment, if they see that you're being who you are in that environment, I always feel that
fair enough.
That's how it should work for any artist, you know?
Fair
I'm
enough.
a firm
No,
believer
agreed,
of if you met me and Jamie and you just sat and you talked with us, you wouldn't even believe we were twisted to an extent.
Right.
I think that we have that separation. We have that approachability to us. We're humble to a fault, bro. And that's what everybody says. Like, you guys need to brag about yourself a little more. The things that you're doing, and we're just like, we don't have time for that. We're
too busy doing it to talk about doing
right.
it. Yeah.
Right.
And that's like us in a nutshell, man.
Yeah.
There's a sense, I think there's a sense of responsibility, a silent responsibility that Paul and I took on a long time ago. And being conscious of that you are a voice for more than just yourself. Right. And I think that is becoming more louder in our music, because we know that we're reaching people and it's working. So in theory, let it keep saving it. Let it keep being your something. As long as we can be your something, or help you through your day, or make it good for you, or do something, we've done our job. And I think that even stuff like this, just, you know, us having new platforms in which to show the world what we do and how we do, I think I'm confident enough that what we do speaks for itself, and I'm proud of that. So thank you for this too.
Amen.
This is,
of course,
for real though.
This
For
is
real
what's fun about it. This is connected. Everybody's got their story, and the more you can tell your story on your own terms, the more people can connect to it and relate it to their own story. And Twiztid represents a whole group of people that need their story told. You know what I mean? That
We
have
believe
another
that,
means. So
that it's one of those things, man. It's so prejudged and so prejudiced against, you know what I mean, about what it is, and it's false. It's false. And that's what we're doing, man. We're showing people that you're wrong. You're wrong about the movement. You're wrong about the fandom. You're wrong about
people have been wrong about skateboard culture, just like they've been wrong about LGBT people, just like they've been wrong about heavy metal, just like, you know.
Right. They did the same thing. They tried to pull out of 100 good things, they're going to pull the one bad thing and glorify it. You know what I mean? That's what mainstream media did with us. They didn't create us, so they did not want to embrace us. They did not want to give us that platform of any shape or form. Like he said, we hit the fucking top 30 on Billboard. We're an underground #1 rock. There wasn't a fucking magazine. There wasn't any, but they didn't give a shit.
And
no,
don't forget,
we will not give them a voice.
Yeah. I was going to say, you're the underground band who spent like 5 to 10 years saying fuck MTV and Spin and pretty much every outlet that anyone who was anything was their crutch. was their everything. You know what I mean? And you went in at all of that shit. So yeah, for you to still do that kind of shit, that's
yeah. I mean,
that's
for
why I
the
say
Dead Kennedys, right? Think about the Dead Kennedys had a song called "MTV Get Off the Air."
you're right. You're
Think
right.
about how much we remember the Dead Kennedys in 2020 versus how many artists that had huge hits on MTV at some point
Right.
that are just
It's
forgotten
true.
about now. You know,
I mean,
It's
it's
so
like the
very
Dead
true.
Kennedys may have never hit that peak of success and money and everything that
But they live forever.
we're